everybody, I'm Tom Vassell. Welcome to the 12 Games of Christmas series. 10 videos where we give you different topics and then we give you 12 games that we think are worth your time getting for someone else for Christmas. Today we're talking about strategy games. And before we jump into that, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Above Board TV. Above Board TV is a comedy and board game YouTube channel. So they talk about board games and they make you laugh and do skits along the way. I really enjoyed them. They went to the Museum of Play in New York and did some fun skits and such there this summer. And they also did something crazy recently, which was to play a game while covered with bees. Yes, the living insects. That is an insane thing to do, but you can watch them do it in the link in our video below. In that link, if you comment on the video once you watch it, you are entered into a contest where 10 of our winners are going to win a $50 game or less from Amazon. You pick the game, and they'll ship it to you in the continental U.S. And one grand prize winner will win an all-expense-paid trip, 3 days, 2 nights to L.A. to film a video with the Above Board TV team. So I hope that you win, and we thank them for sponsoring us. Today we're talking about strategy games. That's right. I want to play some strategy games. I want to be the best when I beat other people. There's a lot of different strategy games that are out there, and so we're going to give you 12 really good ones. Let's get started.
First up, in our strategy category, we are going to talk about the Fox experiment. The Fox experiment feels like dice chucking goodness, but a lot of strategy planning beforehand and mitigation afterward. So ultimately, you are choosing 2 parents in order to make a pup, and you want to have the pup that has the highest trait value because that's going to lead to points. So you're getting research goals and cards, trying to pick parents that are going to give you the traits that meet those research goals. So it just feels really good at the end of this game when you're coming down to that 4th and 5th round. You have a handful of dice and you're chucking them and you're moving them around, trying to make those genes light up to make your goals. It just feels good. I love the strategy and planning before in the picking of the parents and then the roll of the dice to see what happens, but enough mitigation at the end to still feel like you have control. If that's something that you have a player you think they're interested in, check out the Fox experiment.
If you or someone you know loves deduction, then a great strategy game is Spectral. This is from Bitewing Games, and this has a little bit of a mix between deduction, but also a little bit of area control or trying to be in the right place. Now, not harsh area control. You are trying to place out little explorers into this haunted house, and you flip over a card next to it, and you will learn something. This has a very cool system where no one can mess up the logic and the deduction of this game, but you are trying to place next to certain areas because jewels will pop up there. As you look at a card, it'll tell you there's a jewel around this one or next to or 4 spaces down, and you're trying to puzzle together where you can place your people out on this map so that you're next to the most jewels and you have the most people there. But there's also certain spaces that will kill or eliminate the people next to it so that those people won't score towards the majorities. But you can't learn everything, so you have to base your moves on how you see other people behaving. Amazing deduction game, great production. This is so much fun. Spectral from Bitewing Games.
The next game we're talking about is River of Gold. River of Gold is one of those that looks great on the table. It's a Euro, and you think, well, this is going to be really complicated. But it's really not. You are moving up a river, certain movements, and then you actually are going to move up tracks as you do it. This is a simple to probably a medium weight Euro, but it's so rewarding. As you move up those tracks, you start to ratchet around. There's a great ratchet mechanism in this, and the production of this is one thing that stands out. It really looks great on the table. It's very simple. It's got strategic decisions as you're moving up tracks. You receive rewards so you can build and different things. This is great. Definitely check this out. This is River of Gold.
Our next game is Nunatak Temple of Ice. This is a game in which you build a pyramid of blocks and tiles. Now, this is not a dexterity game, which is what I thought. In fact, when you build this, it holds together really well. But what you're doing is you're drafting cards, which allow you to place a block on the table. And once there's 4 blocks, whoever has the most blocks in that area is going to score points, and you'll put tiles on top, slowly building this up there. You're also scoring points for the types of cards you collect. There are many different ways to score points in this game, from having the blocks around the outside match your color for controlling different areas, for having rows and columns, and just for collecting different sets of cards. The card you take determines where you can place it, but you often have a lot of good choices. It's a visual treat to see this when it's done. It plays in about 45 minutes to an hour, and I find it to be a very enjoyable game. That's Nunatak.
Four Shuffle is next up on our list, and this is a game that I just thoroughly enjoy. Win or lose, this is fun. So in Four Shuffle, you are playing out all of these trees, and then those trees are going to have animals and plants and bugs tucked underneath them, top, bottom, left, and right. And every single one of those cards that you put out is going to have some sort of new scoring ability. And so you're just trying to create this amazing environment and amalgamation of tons of different scoring that all works together. So it's really fun because you can lean into a particular strategy, and because there's so many cards, nobody else is leaning into that strategy. They're doing something totally different. So you're like, I'm building up a butterfly farm. I'm gonna have all the different butterflies. Well, someone else is like, hey, all my bunnies are having babies. We are tucking all the bunnies. And so it's so fun. I love that that theme is tied in really well. And it's a great game that win or lose, I'm really happy because I created something so fabulous. So Four Shuffle is an awesome choice.
Welcome back to the Cozy Above Board Studios. Our next game is Let's Go to Japan by Josh Wood and AEG. Now, in Let's Go to Japan, players work to create the perfect vacation in Japan. Designer Josh Wood was planning to travel to Japan before the pandemic. So, when the lockdown happened, he did what we all did. He learned the Japanese language, became a near expert on the culture and sights of Japan, and designed a board game, because that's what you do. And Let's Go to Japan, players draw activity cards from the deck and place them in your weekly schedule. Collect tourist sites from Tokyo and Kyoto, making sure to purchase then tickets, train tickets, enough to travel between the two. Try to balance different types of attractions while not wasting all your resources. Earn points and win by having the best vacation in Japan.
Next up, we have Cascadero, a tile-laying game by what some people would think as the best tile-laying designer in the business, and that is Dr. Reiner Knizia. In this game, you are going to be placing pieces onto a central map, trying to make route connections, connecting to different cities. And while you're doing that, these areas on the map are going to be interconnected with different tracks that you're going to be going up along the other side of the board. And so these interconnected systems, you have to work in such a way that you are efficiently getting things done, moving up the tracks, getting bonuses, while also blocking your opponents from getting to certain things. So there is a very interactive element to this game where you are trying to not only build the routes that are beneficial to you, but also potentially blocking routes that would be beneficial to your opponents. It's a game that plays quite quickly for the amount of strategy involved and has a very simple rule set for such a satisfying experience. That is Cascadero.
In Draft and Write Records, you are going to be putting together the band, and you'll be doing that by drafting cards, taking perhaps new musicians or various other things that have to do with the music business and traveling around as an act, and transferring that to your own sheet. There's a few sort of mini games and a lot of cascading combos. So putting together the band requires you filling in those positions, and if you make connections between the musicians, then you're going to get bonuses. Checks out. You're also going to be filling out some other areas, and again, as you hit specific locations on those tracks, they allow you a bonus marking on a different location. So everything's a little bit connected. The whole thing has a really cool look, great art style, and has this really neat theme that gives you something above and beyond just a numbers and symbols kind of roll and write. So Draft and Write Records punches a little bit above many of the other games of its ilk and gives you something neat.
Next up, we have a new edition of a classic game from designer Reiner Knizia. This is Through the Desert. Through the Desert is oftentimes considered one of Reiner Knizia's very best games, and is one that focuses on route building and chaining your animals. You're going to be placing camels out on a shared board. You're trying to connect to oases and different scoring opportunities abound. You're also potentially trying to block off your opponents, and you can have some very, very vicious plays in this game. So if you have people on your list that like very interactive games where what you're doing greatly impacts the other players at the table, this is something that could be a very big interest to them. It has a little bit of an abstract game, a classic abstract strategy game feel, like something like Go, but much simpler in the permutations, but still a whole lot of strategy going on. And in this newest version, they've updated the graphics, and they even have added a modular expansion that you can get that will change up some of the classic rules of Through the Desert. So, beautiful looking version of a fantastic game that is Through the Desert.
Strategy games. When I think of strategy games, I think of planning out long term and then someone potentially destroying that whole plan and messing you up, which is why today we're talking about Comic Hunters. This is my favorite game to play at conventions. We play it literally every time, multiple times on the cruise, East, and Dice Tower retreat. It's a great game about drafting, but what you're doing is collecting comic books. So you're going to be drafting these cards out of there, and they're actual comics from real covers from real comics. It's so great. Trying to match symbols, trying to get enough of a certain hero in your collection or a varied collection. Really love Comic Hunters. It's one of my favorite games of all time, which if you're watching our top 100, probably haven't seen it yet because that means it's higher on the list. So that is Comic Hunters for my favorite 12 Days of Christmas strategy game.
Next up for our recommendation here is going to be Floresta. Now, Floresta has great multi-use cards. If you know someone that likes that, it's also a module board where on your turn, you're going to play a card to go out onto the board. That card is going to have placement restrictions on where you can go, but each board that you placed on is going to interact and score differently. So maybe on one, you're going for majority. Maybe on another, you're going for proximity. Maybe another one you go and it lets you move around your pieces on another board. So there's a lot of different goals and ways to go about this, and also fires are coming up, and so you're having to make sure that you're putting out the right cards in order to fight those fires, to keep your trees live and healthy. So it feels very tense and interactive without being mean. It's also set in nature, so I think it's a very approachable theme set on a realistic setting. Any of those things that you have someone interested in, definitely have them check out Floresta.
Our last game is Vale of Eternity. There are a lot of card games that are made these days, and they're collectible card games from Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and sometimes I want to play that type of game, but without the expensive collectability nature of it, and that's what Vale of Eternity does. It is just a small deck of cards, and you are manipulating those cards, capturing different creatures in that deck, but the way the cards come out, the combos of drafting them, it has a nice little draft where there's 8. If in a 4-player game, 8 cards, I get the first card and the last card, and you might get the 4th and the 5th card. And you'll use these cards in various combinations to win. It also has a neat sense of currency. There's a lot of different aspects where this whole thing comes together in just a really well-done package. They just released an expansion, which adds even more to the fun. But even just the base game of Vale of Eternity plays well from 2 to 4 players. I have a blast every time finding yet, in this small deck of cards, yet another interesting combination of strategy. And that's it for our strategy games, folks. We have, if you want even more heavy strategy, we have an advanced strategy list of games going up today, too, as part of our 10 video series on Games of Christmas. These are games to buy someone you know or yourself. We tried to pick games that you can find somewhere online, or you can pre-order them. Either way, we put these up early enough that you have a chance to get these games for yourself before Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all, and Merry Christmas to our sponsors, Above Board TV. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time on the Dice Tower. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassett.